Welcome to the Hamumu Halloween Home Horror Hoedown, the podcast where we watch scary movies so you don't have to.
From award-winning to completely unknown, we take them all way too seriously.
I'm your host, Mike Hommel.
And I'm your host, Solange Hommel.
Now, warning, we use a ghoulish number of spoilers, so watch the movies first.
Second warning, we don't know anything about anything, so don't take us seriously as we take these movies seriously. So we watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies from 2022, and I just want to run through a few of my initial notes.
My initial note was window won't roll down.
3 main notes that I start with. Ooh, lesbians. That's Pete Davidson. And Greg is 15 years too old to be here.
Yeah, Greg was at least 15, probably 20 years too old to be there.
Yeah. He was several generations older. He was Gen X while the rest of them were Gen Z. And that is a lot of what I took away from this movie.
Yes, this was a Gen Z situation. And it made me think about, like, is this our future in cinema? Like, are they all going to be like this? Or is this, a vibe that this movie was doing?
Well, I think at the end, once we were done watching, I was asking about that. Like, who made this movie? Like, is this a movie made by Gen Z about Gen Z? Or is this a movie made by Gen X about Gen Z? Or even millennials about Gen Z? Because those are going to be 3 very different perspectives. My vibe from it is that this was not written by Gen Z. This was written about Gen Z. Because it's not flattering for them.
It's not. I can't get any info on the writers, but the director was born in 1975. Solid Gen X.
Okay. See, that makes it all make sense. That fits what I was getting from this movie, which is Gen Z is messed up.
According to Gen X.
Well, right. That's what I was getting. Like, it was giving. It was giving. Gen Z is pretty messed up. It was all drugs, and none of them knew how to do anything, and none of them had any sense of responsibility. And then the key thing, the thing toward the end where I was like, oh, I see what's happening here, is that by the end, at the slightest provocation, they were ready to just write whole people out of their lives and just like, they are dead to me, literally and figuratively.
As a Gen Xer, I know I've seen that kind of behavior from Gen Z.
And there's just like, there is zero tolerance in that generation. Like, if you mess up once, they are like, that bridge is burned and you might as well go out into the hurricane and get murdered by whatever monsters are out there because I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that was definitely a part of the movie, and it was interesting because we've kind of run into that and been like, whoa, is this what these people are like? And I guess this movie confirms that it is, which I feel bad about.
No. What it confirms is that other Gen Xers are also having that question, which does not, to be fair to Gen Z, does not mean Gen Z is messed up or is bad. It's just that they are living in a world and handling the world they are living in a very different way than Gen X did. Does, is, was,
were,
will be.
What I want to say is that this Gen X director did a great job of making me hate these characters more than I've hated anyone in any movie I've ever seen.
They were all awful. All of them.
So awful. The worst.
So, okay, let's do a quick run through of who we have. We have Bea and Sophia, who were the lesbians that I noticed at the beginning.
Yeah.
They are, I think Bea is the main character of this movie.
She's kind of the final girl, sort of.
Sort of. Maybe Sophia, but I really feel like it's more, if it's from any of their perspectives, it's from Bea's perspective, but it's not really from her perspective.
Well, yeah, because there was a point. This is one of those movies where people are getting killed and you don't know which of them is the murderer. And there was a point where it seemed like it could totally be her because she was kind of being brought in as Sophie's girlfriend. And it was like, this is a stranger, and maybe she's killing them. But then we followed her with the camera as she was like cleaning up from, I forget what, but she got dirty somehow. I think she got blood all over her. Another sign that she might be a killer. And she was cleaning up and like being scared and uncomfortable in the bathroom. And it's like, okay, this is someone who's not killing people. So it kind of ruined that.
Well, right. But honestly, at any point, I was like, it could have been any of them. Even the ones who were doing weird things, you know, like we were following them and seeing them panicking. Like they could be panicking in one scene and throwing someone down the stairs in the next scene, which they were.
They did.
So, okay. So we have Bea and Sophie. I think I called her Sophia earlier. Sophie. We have Alice, who is one of the friends from the group, and the guy she brought along, Greg, who is clearly Gen X when all the rest of them are Gen Z.
Yes. He's an elder person.
For most of the movie, they kept referring to him as like the vet, and he's from Iraq.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. Then we have Emma and David. David is the one played by Pete Davidson, and Emma is his girlfriend. And we have Jordan, who is like the mean girl of the group, kind of.
Yeah.
She's the one who, like, initially is very suspicious of everyone, is like,
She's blunt.
Take no BS. And then we have, like, this missing character, Max, who from the very beginning is like, Max took the car and left, and we don't know where he is.
Yeah, and I guess he's there with Jordan?
No, there was some kind of weird triangle between him and David and Emma. And I think like Emma and David were there together. And then Max was like, I love Emma. And then David thought it was funny, but then punched Max, or Max punched David.
Max punched David. He had a black eye.
There was a whole thing. And I honestly, by the time, like, I couldn't keep track what was going on in that love triangle. There was a love triangle.
Yeah.
So we have all of these people.
It wasn't the only love triangle, actually.
No, it wasn't, which I think is another kind of like, not a Gen X thing. Like it's a younger generation thing where we were getting toward that in terms of, you know, like you date all the people in your friend group. But now, like, it's not that you have dated all the people in your friend group. It's that you are simultaneously dating all of the people in your friend group.
Apparently.
Which I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's different than what I was used to. So we have this large cast of characters. They're all staying at David's dad's house. David is clearly rich. I think one of them said, we're rich, but you and Sophie are rich. Mm-hmm. So, like...
See, it's not Gen Z. It's rich Gen Z that's the problem.
Not in my experience.
Just saying.
Because most of the people that I know are not rich or rich. But being rich and rich certainly did not make them better people.
Weird.
Yeah, shocking. So they're all hanging out at David's dad's house. And there's a hurricane coming, which they all know about and are excited about, kind of. Like it's
a hurricane party.
The point, yeah. And then they decide to play the game Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
This is in the classic genre of movies that double as instruction manuals for party games.
Yes. So tell us, how do you play Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
I had some trouble with this, but to the best of my... Well, okay, first of all, there's a step at the beginning that I do not understand at all, where you all sit around and you slap each other and take a drink.
Take a shot, yes. You have to be hit by one of the other players and you have to take a shot. In my mind, it was like they were anteing in for the round. Like they couldn't play the round unless they did that.
It's pretty messed up.
It is.
And then...
But once you're in...
Everybody gets a little slip of paper. One of the slips of paper has an X, so that person is the murderer. And of course, no one knows who it is. And then they wander around the house and...
With all the lights off.
Sure. And then the murderer, like, gets, taps people on the back to make them be dead. And if you come across a dead body, you yell, "Bodies, bodies, bodies!" And everybody comes running in, and you get to accuse who the murderer is, and there's some sort of werewolf-like voting out process.
It's funny that you say that, because I sort of felt like Greg, the old guy, felt, where he's like, he gets out immediately. He goes off and he's doing his like meditation or whatever in the entire gymnasium that is in this house.
Full basketball, half basketball court.
And he says, "Oh, are you guys done playing werewolf or whatever?" And I'm like, that's what you're doing.
Yeah. No, they're playing bodies, bodies, bodies.
Yeah. So, okay, so they're playing bodies, bodies, bodies. But lo and behold, after a round or two, suddenly the bodies are real bodies.
Okay, David dies. They're like going around being, worried about getting fake murdered when David comes slamming up against the window outside, dripping blood and going, and then he falls over dead. And so it begins.
And they all immediately start accusing one another. And then essentially the rest of the movie is them one by one dying off.
Yeah.
And constantly accusing each other of being the reason why the others are dying off until we get to the end and we just have Bea and Sophie left. And then Max shows up.
Max finally returns.
And he's like, what the heck happened here?
Yeah. So there was, an interesting mystery here of who is it? There are so many possibilities and so many reasons why you would want to kill these people, for sure. And it got to the point where, I was concocting many different theories of okay, if it's that person, that's fine. They're doing this. But that one death over there was an accident or was, caused by this other situation. And so it all made sense. And then interesting twist at the end.
Okay. So that's my question for you is it interesting or is it not interesting?
This is the thing. We're already spoiling this, but this is most spoilery. It's akin to those movies that nobody does anymore, where it was all just a dream. Because that was clever the first time. And this is I'm sure this isn't the first time this has happened, but what they did in this movie is still original, however many times it's been done. I don't know of any. And therefore, it's kind of clever and fun.
But it will get old fast.
I think the very next time it happens,
yes,
it's old.
Okay, so now that we've said that, we do have to let them in on what we're talking about.
Yes.
So, remember how we said David being murdered was the thing that kicked it all off?
Yeah.
Well, David was a rich idiot who had been doing coke all night. And he decided to take a machete out onto the patio and record a TikTok of himself doing fancy machete moves. And it turns out, because he's an idiot and he's been doing coke all night, that he machetes himself in the neck.
Yes. And just to be clear, he's trying to do that thing where you pop the champagne open with a sword.
Oh, I forgot about that. I just remember he was doing all the machete things. But yeah. Because Greg
did it.
Had done it. And all the girls had been like, ooh. And he's like, Greg's not so great. I can do that too.
Apparently he cannot.
Not without killing himself.
So what I like about that is that it is a legitimate instigation for this whole thing. It was a stupid accident, but it really looked like he had been murdered. And there's no other way to explain it. He definitely got murdered. And so then you're left with this situation where there's got to be a murderer. And that leads to a lot of accidents.
And until they find his phone and see the recording, which I liked that too, that it was very it's real and authentic, that he would have been recording himself when this happened.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So they did legitimately get to see what had happened, but they didn't find his phone until everyone else besides them was dead. And they had just spent a 10-minute fight scene trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
Because they each thought the other one was the one murdering.
Well, because at that point, they're the only two left.
Right.
They know the other person is the murderer.
But then, so we find out that the instigation was not real. And all of these dominoes fell because of this mistake. But then we also find out that almost all of the other deaths are also accidents. Because, first David and this sword. And then they're all accusing each other. And does Greg have the sword or does he have a gun? Or for some reason, Greg, who they all think is the one who did it, also has a weapon and is kind of looking threatening to all of these girls.
Because, they surrounded him with knives. And he knocks one out of one of their hands and takes it because he's a vet.
Because he's a vet. So he's they're threatening him. He gets the knife. He's threatening them. And Bea comes up behind him with a kettlebell and whaps him on the head. And then whaps him again to make sure he's really dead.
Well, she did it thoroughly.
So that wasn't an accident so much
Not
as
at all.
a pure misunderstanding. But she was not trying to murder anyone. She was trying to protect all of these women that she thought were about to be attacked by someone who had already killed someone.
Yeah, because he was definitely acting real amped up and crazy.
Yes.
And this is one of those classic movies like The Thing. It's all about paranoia.
Right? But also it's all about not understanding other people because he was behaving in a way that they didn't understand.
Yeah.
Whereas
Gen X.
I didn't think he was behaving that oddly. I never really thought he was the person who did it. And then also we later find out that he's not a vet from Iraq. He's a veterinarian.
A veterinary assistant.
Which was just a funny little icing on the cake for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we have Emma, who everyone thought someone had pushed her down the stairs, but it turns out she was freaking out over all the things that were happening. So Sophie gave her a bunch of sleeping pills and she fell down the stairs. And then Alice.
It was a classic standoff scene where, first of all, this is preceded by B, our main character, definitely being very main in this. They've like forced her out of the house because they assume it's her. And they're like, you can't be in here.
She's the stranger.
And while she's out there, she sees Jordan in there finding a gun and taking it. And she's like, oh no, that's clearly the murderer. And she gets her way back in the house and she tells everybody there's the gun. And then Jordan's got the gun and she's pointing it at them because she's freaked out. And that's why she has the gun. And you end up in the classic scenario where a bunch of people, well, usually it's 2 people, but in this case it's 3 or 4. They have a gun, they're all wrestling over it, and they're all tangled up, and then you hear a shot, and who knows what happened?
Yeah. One of the 3 of them could have shot her.
And again, what's clever about that is, yeah, it could be an accident, and it was, but easily someone who was a psycho could have used that as cover to shoot someone.
So then they continue fighting over the gun, and about who had killed Emma and whatever. And then they just start shouting all the things. They start just venting at each other, including things like accusing, like, oh, you just go back and write your memoir. And Sophie saying, it's creative nonfiction, which is a valid response to life in an attention economy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that whole scene felt so much like a parody of Gen Z stuff. Like, I get it. That's funny.
Well, because then Sophie also shouts, feelings are facts.
Yeah. Which is, no, you're wrong.
No, they're not. Feelings are valid. That doesn't make them facts.
Yes. But that whole scene then, like, that felt like what the movie meant to do, but the entire rest of the movie, they were being very Gen Z, but they were not being a parody of Gen Z.
You don't think so?
Not like that. Not, not ridiculously making fun of it. Just,
I wonder if we only really know Gen Z from TV, though. Like, we don't know that many Gen Z people.
I don't.
And do you think they
so
all
ridiculous.
are doing all of those things? Like, that entryway, because then B throws Jordan over the railing to try to save herself and Sophie. And when we're looking down onto, like, Jordan is, like, sprawled on the floor, still pointing the gun up and, telling Sophie to check the text message. No, telling B to check Sophie's text messages because she's still trying to, like, be competitive over which one of them Sophie likes best.
Yeah.
And the entire entryway of this clearly a, like, TikTok house is covered. The floor is covered with cans and bottles and paraphernalia. Like, to an extreme amount. There were only 8 people there.
Yeah. I mean, the whole movie, it had a comedic tone to it, but it wasn't that scene, like nowhere else in the movie would they have addressed the attention economy or that kind of thing. Like, they didn't bust out all the buzzwords.
No, but they did have things like David saying, I'm coked up and I bit her. Like, there were things where it was all the stereotypes of the generation kind
Is
of
that
all
a stereotype of the generation?
Well, I think it was trying to suggest that. I remember making the comment, I'm like, they're doing a lot of coke in this movie. Like, Gen Z is trying to bring all the 80s stuff back. Like, they're bringing back all the 80s fashion and
Gen
80s
X
hairdos
thinks.
and stuff. And now they're bringing back 80s drugs too, apparently. But I don't know. It just felt like It felt like it was taking the idea of like Gen Z is irresponsible and doesn't know how to take care of themselves and can't grow up, and like making that a big deal. And then at the end, shifting it to also like, and now look at, you know, they have all these ridiculous ideas about the world, you know?
Yeah. A podcast takes a lot of work. You have to make a Google Calendar and build a following.
Well, then part of the final argument was you didn't even like listening to her podcast.
Yeah, that was the deep, dark secret. She hate listens.
Oh. And then one of them yelling at the other ones, "You're silencing me."
Yeah. See, that's the kind of thing that I feel like Gen X is mocking in Gen Z.
Yes. I even said it to the movie. I was like, there was a point, and I don't remember where it was, but there was a point where I was like, you guys would all get along better if you would just stuff things down inside and stop saying everything out loud.
Yep.
You don't have to put all your emotions out in the world. Keep some of them inside to fester. Gives you character.
Yeah, it builds character like mold in cheese.
Yes. So I think it just takes all of these like kind of ideas that older generations have about Gen Z and like turned them up a little bit, you know, the hypersexuality and the immaturity and the just oversensitivity and the complete addiction to drama, the need for attention at all times.
Yeah. I just don't think there was enough of that until that scene when it was really over the top. Like it just, I don't know. It was not ridiculous enough until then.
Yeah. Yeah. And it did, like, it touched a little bit on things in an almost serious way. Like, it touched on serious topics in a not super serious way, but in a sort of serious way. The most serious that they got was when Sophie, who had been to rehab and was just coming back, and like that's part of it. Her friends were all mad at her because she had ghosted them. She went to rehab.
Yeah.
And then they're all mad at her for ghosting them, but simultaneously they're all like, we had to make you go to rehab. Like, guys, you can't have it both ways. Like, get a grip. She's talking about the fact that as long as it's like David, the rich white dude who has the coke problem, it's all fun and games. But when it's Sophie, who is a black woman who has a coke problem, then it's a problem. Like, they kind of pointed that out, but that was in passing and was pretty much the most serious they got in the whole movie.
Yeah. Not a lot of super serious.
No. They did mention, like, Bea confesses that her mom, she has a mom with borderline.
Yes.
And I'm like, is that how we say that now?
It is.
Apparently. I thought she was going to say it and they were all going to make fun of her for saying it that way. And then they didn't. And I was like, oh, I'm the one who doesn't know what's going on here.
Well, and
I thought it was a language issue.
And that was played for comedy too, where she's like, people repeatedly were like, but borderline is very serious. You guys don't joke about that when they're in the middle of all being murdered.
There was also some seriousness, very couched in all the melodrama and insanity about the relationships. Like, they were all struggling with connection, and they were all very like, oh, we're besties, we're a friend group, but none of them knew each other in any kind of authentic, real way.
Yeah, I think that was kind of rich kid stuff.
That's possible. But it may also be kind of a problem with, like, growing up separated by, you know, where all your friends or a large number of your friends are internet friends, where, like, you don't really know who they are. You know who they are on the internet.
Maybe.
Which I think is not just a Gen Z problem. I think Gen Z was born into that problem. Like, they never knew a time before that, whereas we did.
Are you saying that if you meet someone on the internet, they could be an axe murderer?
No.
Oh.
No.
Just checking.
No. I'm not saying it's bad to meet people on the internet or have friends who are primarily on the internet. Like, I get that. Like, that's a totally valid way to have friendships. But I think it's easier to think you know someone and not really know them when you only talk to them via chat or, when you're not face to face with them.
They could be an ex-murderer.
Well, they could be, I guess.
My mom was right.
Yes, about this one thing.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like there was something there about the fracturing of relationships in this world. And again, I'm not saying that that's a problem with Gen Z. I'm saying that's a problem with our world. And Gen Z is doing the best that they can, having grown up in this world. And like having come into adulthood, not only in an internet world, but in an internet world that is in isolation because of a global pandemic.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But the weirdest thing going on in the world today is that this house had a doggy door that instead of being in a door was in a wall. So you'd go into the doggy door and go through the wall and you think, okay, a wall, it's like 6 inches thick. No, it was 4 feet of wall. So it was like somewhere in a closet or something. I don't know. It's so weird. A doggy tunnel.
I don't understand where there would have been a space like that. Like, how can you design a house that has that much in the wall space?
And why
would
you...
It seems like you would just make the rooms next to it bigger.
Yeah. But why would you even, if there was a space like that, why is that where you put the doggy door? There's exterior walls in houses. Put the doggy door there.
I don't know. It was weird.
But it was there, and I feel like this was probably filmed in a real house, or maybe, multiple locations, but like that probably existed in a real house, but I don't understand it.
Here's the thing, though. Something that I have learned from TikTok is that there are houses out there that are designed for things I would never think to design a house around. And like a lot of TikToks, like from people who do TikTok as like their thing, especially young adults, they are either living in or they work in these like TikTok houses where the houses are all set up for TikTok recording. Like they have different kinds of rooms and, everything is designed, and then you get to go in and like use the room. Like we're even starting to see that in the city that we live in, where there are businesses that are setting up recording spaces.
Yeah, podcast studios.
But it's not even like people aren't doing podcasts the way they used to. Now it's essentially so people can go in and do their TikTok stuff.
Yeah.
So there's all these houses, and then some of them are houses that used to be used for other reasons. And when you start to think about what are the other reasons you might need to have a large house with lots of rooms, and then you look at like what's in the house, you're like, that's weird that this house has a really large bathroom with lots and lots of bathtubs in it and a loft above it where you can look down into the bathroom full of bathtubs.
Yeah.
And like you watch the TikTok and you're like, that's insane. Who would design a house like that? And then you start to think about who would design a house like that.
Who would?
And you realize that you don't know what's out there in the world.
Yes.
At least that's the experience I had.
Well, we saw one of those, this is a crazy house for sale videos where there was a walkway that led out onto the dining room table.
Yeah.
So you would walk a certain way from a higher area and you'd be walking right across the table and like, oh, that's silly. That doesn't make sense. Unless you're doing something weird.
Yeah. Oh, another one where I saw like that they had like the entryway, you'd come in the front door and then there's like all this weird like built-in desks and countertops and stuff like in the entryway, and you're like, that's so weird, and like, why are they doing that? And it's because whatever was going on in that house, you needed to get checked in order to get in, and like you went through an entryway where you like signed things to get into this house.
They made
and
sure.
Again, like I don't know what's going on in there, but it's not what I'm used to. And I feel like this movie was made in a house similar to that. Like when they ran through the house and all the rooms looked different.
Yeah, crazy purple rooms.
Mm-hmm. The room filled with plants and black lights. I don't know. Ratings. I liked this movie. but I don't feel great about why I liked this movie.
You just wanted to mock Gen Z.
I feel like it was very much targeting me and the fact that I don't understand Gen Z. And I'm aware enough to know, like, please, my Gen Z friends,
all of whom listen to this podcast.
The ones of you who listen to this podcast, I know that the people who listen to this podcast are millennials and not Gen Z. So whatever. But my dear Gen Z friends, I understand that everything I think about you is because I am a bitter, angry, jaded, middle-aged Gen X cranky lady. And that my life, as bitter and jaded as I am about it, started out in a much easier place than your life started out.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I had 10 to 15 years of, like, biking with my friends through the neighborhood and, you know, living in the world where I was free and there was no internet and my parents didn't know where I was for 6 hours. And that was okay because they didn't have to think I had been kidnapped and murdered after the first 30 minutes of not knowing where I was. Like, I lived in a different world.
Yeah.
Gen Z grew up in a much more stressful world, raised by Gen X.
Oh, no. That makes it so much worse.
Right? Raised by a bunch of bitter, jaded Gen Xers. Like, I get it. I'm not blaming you. But I also do not understand you. So when this movie takes all the things I don't understand about Gen Z and then makes them funny, it was funny. I was entertained. And I do love any kind of movie where it's, you know, a bunch of crappy young adults together being crappy at each other and then they all get murdered for whatever reasons. Like, that is a very satisfying storyline for me.
It's a staple of the genre.
It is. It's one of my favorite kinds of horror movies. So, like, this movie ticked a lot of boxes for me. And because of that, I am going to give it 4 light therapy masks out of 5. And I'm going to say, like, this is the kind of movie, this is the catch-all horror movie, right? Like, I think this one has good high appeal for a lot of people.
Oh, that's very positive.
Because it's got, like, the horror gore, but it's also funny, and it's, you know, not Rob Zombie gore. It's just horror movie gore. So, I don't know. It was entertaining.
Okay.
I would watch it again, probably.
Well, let's go the other direction then. Positives. This was a compelling mystery in that I was watching throughout the movie going, is it this? Is it that? And I was putting the clues together. And one of my favorite things is where the movie gives me reason to keep coming up with theories of what's going on and testing them. And of course, all of that is contingent on at the end, it explains things so that I know what the truth is. And this movie did that with a unique twist, I think. I don't think it's been done a lot. And that was fun. But again, it's really something that gets old real fast. Just like the Dream thing. Like, fun this time. And so I think it did a good job on those levels. I hated these people so much that I did not enjoy watching them. Like, all these movies about teenagers getting murdered, the kids are always super annoying, but not like this. This was the worst.
Is this because you're turning 50?
Ignore that voice, people. That was probably a demon. The worst. It was so awful. And part of it is I am definitely not a Pete Davidson fan. I just do not like anything about him. And I don't even have a reason. He's one of those people that I see and I'm like, ugh, no. There aren't very many of those, but he's one of them. Elon Musk is another one, but also with reasons as well.
Yeah.
So that really put a damper on the whole experience. And then again, like at the end when they had their big argument shouting at each other where it was being totally ridiculous.
Feelings are facts.
Like that was fun. I'm like, that's what I wish had been going on the whole movie, but it felt more kind of dour throughout the movie. It was like, yeah, these are ridiculous people, but they're just not being ridiculous enough. Like Werewolves Within was ridiculous, but it was over the top enough that it was ridiculous throughout. And so that was disappointing. And so I didn't really enjoy the movie, except I kind of did because of the whole mystery thing. So I would say, for me, it's like a 2.5 light therapy masks out of 5.
That's interesting. It's not very often that we have divergent scores.
It is not.
Like that.
It's very rare. But just these kids. What are we gonna do with the kids?
Do you want them to get off your lawn?
It's compelling. Yeah, I really wish they'd get off my lawn.
You know what's weird?
What's weird?
50 sounds really old still.
It is. Don't worry.
It's not. Like, you and I are still young and stupid and we don't know anything.
I think that's like a double whammy, though. Like, so I get to be old and broken and also stupid.
And young and stupid at the same time.
It's not a win.
But, I think about what I used to think of people like in my parents' generation or my grandparents' generation when they were 50.
They were 50.
And I thought they were ancient.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm still a baby.
They were more ancient, though. Like, my grandma, I'm pretty sure, died when she was younger than my parents are today. And my parents are like, I mean, they're not healthy, but they're healthy.
They're in good shape.
They run around and do stuff. Not
Sort
exactly
of.
Running, but they get around and do stuff.
Yeah.
And it's older is not as much older as it used to be.
No, it's weird.
Yeah.
Now think when we watch all these Gen Zs when they are turning 50.
Well, you know, the other thing.
We'll literally be like, look at those babies.
Yeah. We'll be dead.
It's possible.
Paul Rudd is over 50. And
That's not fair. He ages backwards.
when
He's
Wilford
like that man in the picture.
when Wilford Brimley was in Cocoon, he was the same age as Paul Rudd was like 5 years ago when I heard that fact. And
Okay, but also, I think Wilford Brimley was born 85 years old.
yeah, but I'm just saying, people back then looked really old for their age, and today they look really young for their age.
That's true. It's different. And, you know, and it used to be like a lot of people died from like heart attacks and stuff in their 50s, and which still happens, but now we have more people who live into their 80s.
Yeah, now I'm scared. I'm turning 50 this year, in case you didn't catch the hints. And I'm scared that I know people have heart attacks, and it just happens. And I'm overweight. I need to not have heart attacks.
Yeah, you need to get yourself in shape because that can't happen.
It's
Not allowed.
It's so weird to be at an age where that is a possibility instead of that's something that happens to other people. Which is not really true, because my uncle was in great shape.
No, I know.
And was actually out on a mountain biking trip when he had a heart attack.
Yeah. I mean, there's no guarantees. There's no anything. But
But
we're younger than 50 used to be, and we should be in better shape than we are. That being said,
yes,
while we're getting in shape, we are going to continue watching horror movies. It keeps our heart rate up. It's good exercise.
it is absolutely good for us on so many levels. It exercises our minds to prevent dementia.
Yes, that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
We're preventing dementia.
And by listening to this podcast, you're preventing dementia. So keep listening, everybody.
All right, we'll be back next week with a new horror movie.
I'm sure it won't be anything filled with angst and dread.
Bye.
Bye. It's an infomercial. Bodies, bodies, bodies. What's with all these bodies?
There's got to be a better way.
Do you have too many bodies stacking up in your basement?